Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. Today we are doing a review of the latest Daredevil episode. It is episode 4.
At 10 o'clock at night.
And it's almost 10 o'clock at night. Marco's having a fit.
Safi, say it. Say the line.
So anyway...
No, before we started doing the review, I was like, Safi, you better get going. It's 10 o'clock at night. And what did you say, Safi?
It's 10 o'clock for me, too.
It's just like... But anyways, we're reviewing Daredevil.
And the
Born
title
Again.
of the episode, if anybody really cares, is Sic Semper Systema, which some of it sounds like the Marine Semper Fi. I don't know.
Yeah, you would understand it if you had finished on with the original show.
Okay, well,
it would make more sense to you why it would be named this title specifically.
Okay, well, whatever. That's the title.
Really?
Okay. So what happens?
Well, first off, Safi, I will take the reins now because it's obvious that you are drunk on ketamine.
No, I'm not. I don't even get that. How people have access to that? That's for animals.
You are drunk on Shamrock shakes.
Well,
so,
that was yesterday. I don't even know now if they have those.
That was 2 days ago. But anyways, first off, where should we begin? Well, first off, let's talk about Daredevil, a.k.a. Matt, a.k.a. the boss. He's just the boss of everything and everyone. Nobody can touch Matt. Well, first off, this episode with him, it deals with like this. Is he homeless? He's like a really.
He's just really poor, I think.
A poor guy.
He doesn't have much to eat.
And he stole a bag of caramel popcorn, and they arrested him, and he already has like a really long history of offenses. And Matt is like, well, why don't you just take this deal? And why? Because, they're going to try to put you in for a lot longer because you've already been in prison, been in jail and everything. And, he just wants to get out. And so, Matt ends up getting him 10 days when he was supposed to get like 35 or more. Like, he was supposed to get a lot longer, and so...
the guy didn't want any days.
Yeah.
And they suggested 35 or whatever. And Matt was able to get it down to, 10 something?
I did already say that, yes.
Plus the day that he was in jail that day, the overnight. And that would be included in that.
I love the scene where he is arguing with the female prosecutor... Because, and I forgot her name because she's only been in this one scene.
I don't know.
But I thought that it was hilarious, and people have already mentioned that, like, they have really, really done Matt's character, like, they've given him a huge boost, because just in every single scene that he's in, he comes off as, like, the coolest guy in the room. And, like, he, even though he has, like, this girlfriend now, like, the therapist that we don't really care about, even though he's got this boring girlfriend now that should be Karen, he comes into this room and he basically, I don't know how to describe it. He just charms his way into getting that deal with this female prosecuting attorney, and it was
really good.
It was a really good scene, and it was such a great, I love how, Spider-Man, Daredevil, they're like these huge, like, ladies' men characters. Like, both of them, people don't really talk about how Spider-Man, but, like, both of these characters, oh, God. I had a pimple on my forehead, and it bled. But anyways, they're both like real like ladies' men characters, and it's just like not a lot of these superhero characters. You could argue like Aquaman, especially, they kind of come off as like homoerotic and kind of wimpy and stupid. But
they're not real. They just don't seem like real people.
But like Spider-Man and Daredevil, you know, they're really cool. They're like these huge like playboys and everything, but in like a nice way, where it's not like they're
not
sleazy.
womanizers, I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And so I loved that scene. I thought that was great. But then I loved how the show kind of tricked you into thinking like, ooh, yeah, he did a really good job there. But then he goes back in and he has this long talk with the guy that he's defending, and the guy's like, he basically explains that like why he committed the crime in the first place, and just says like, you know,
and that was a real kind of thing. He's on food stamps.
yeah,
And he has to go to some place to get, I think it's Social Security. I'm not sure. I didn't understand the letters, and since I'm not familiar with that stuff, I don't know. But he said, I just wanted something fun to eat. I eat, you know, everything. I follow it to the letter. I don't get much money, and I have to really be careful about what I spend my money on. I just wanted something fun to eat for once. And so I decided to take this caramel popcorn. And he said, you know, the police were eating it and they didn't get in trouble. Maybe they should arrest themselves. And so I've heard about stuff like this, but I've heard people just will buy snack stuff and not buy the really good food. You know, I've heard there's two ways people do this with the limited money that they have. So, I mean, and he's saying, and if I go to jail, which this is what happened before, I'll miss this meeting with this place where I get this money, and I won't get it because I didn't show up to the place or something. I don't know.
no, he said he missed the meeting before.
Yeah.
Because he was in prison. Right. So it kind of like it turned things on its head, and it's like, oh, actually, what Matt did there wasn't really like this huge victory. It's basically showing that like this system that he's working in is not it's not good, and his work that he could be doing as a superhero would improve things a lot more. And Safi, what is going on with this pimple?
I don't know. I can't see anything. It's so dark.
What is going on?
I don't know. Why do you have to do that to me?
Because it's just it bled and everything.
Well,
it's like
okay.
What the hell?
It's
Look,
okay.
What's going on with that?
I can't see it.
What is that?
It's not any big deal.
Okay. It was so weird. It's like all of a sudden the video started and it was like boop, and then there's like blood all over my fingers. But anyways, the Punisher, if he was here, he would be like, "What the fuck are you talking about, fucking pimple? You pussy ass pimple, bitch." That's what the Punisher would say, Safi.
Oh,
but anyways, what else happened with Matt, Safi?
The problem is, it does show him that the system is really warped.
And I love that because
unfair.
It's so much. This is what we deserved with Better Call Saul. This is what I wanted from Better Call Saul. Why couldn't we get this from Better Call Saul?
I don't know. Too many personal hang-ups or something.
But keep going, Safi.
I don't know, but the thing is, he couldn't do anything better than what he got. It was like an auction, and they wanted 30-something days, and he got it down to what he got it down to. He couldn't do any more, and I mean he had a limit because he's been in jail so many times. The thing is, if he was given a helping hand, and he could get reimbursement or payment or compensation for what he was doing, like if he was given some kind of job, like a simple job. I don't know what it would take because we really don't know a lot. Aren't given that much information, except he's been arrested over and over for little petty offenses. And
okay, update. I have a Buzz Lightyear Band-Aid on my forehead now.
So anyway,
to infinity and beyond.
He really did get the amount of days down as far as he could go. But like Marco said, the way the system is, it just isn't right, and it's not fair. And
he went to Rikers Island
for that.
Yeah,
for stealing little I thought he was in jail,
but
in the city jail.
But they put him in prison at Rikers Island after that.
God, and that's a horrible place.
Actually,
today it's a real thing.
Well, in the comics, Rikers Island is more like the central, like, prison of New York. Like, they mentioned that. Like,
I think it used to be.
In Spider-Man Web of Shadows, which is one of the best video games ever made, you actually have to... Like, there's like a prison break at Rikers Island with all the villains there, and it's really, really cool. But, I'm trying to think, because I know that he does meet up with... Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, he investigates... there's a ton of other stuff. See, the problem with this show is still, it feels like a string of scenes. It doesn't really feel as much like a show that's like... With Dark Winds, the way that episode was constructed, cohesive, fit together, this feels very much like Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3, like a Frankenstein's monster, but a good one, I guess. But he also sees the bad cop, the guy who... Safi?
The guy who killed that other...
well, he might have, or he knew who did.
Or yeah, wasn't really definitive.
And once again, they have this brilliant scene where Matt is just completely like the coolest guy ever, interacting with this piece of shit evil cop. And I love how in the show too, like, usually in these superhero movies and shows, the police characters are portrayed as really, really decent people. And that's not what they're like in real life. You know, police are terrible. They're awful.
That's not
true.
It just depends on where and who. And
awful
not
people.
Every police person
and
is
so
like that.
I love that this show actually shows the reality of how police really are, because it needs to be shown somewhere aside, like I hate to say it, but aside black-oriented movies. Like, it needs to be shown elsewhere, too. You know, like, I love the fact that, like, this show, they have not had, like, I mean, these are bad police, and I really can't wait to see the Punisher kill them all, or torture them to death, you know, whatever he's going to do, like, because these are just terrible people, terrible characters. I don't think
they're all like that, but the ones they're showing, especially this one, I don't know who he thinks he is. Well, he said, my uncle was a police officer, my grandfather, my father, my 4 cousins are police officers. We're all in love. And he just goes on. And I'm like, so what?
I was kind of hoping for after he said that, I was kind of hoping for Matt to say, like, and you tarnished your family's legacy by doing what you've done.
Yeah.
Like, I was hoping for him to say that,
they probably
but
weren't like
he
what
didn't.
He is.
But, like, Matt just comes up with, like,
bully.
the comebacks. He just fucking... He's really cool, this Matt in this show.
None of these people know he has this, what would you call it, talent,
he's Daredevil.
skill,
yeah,
where he can hear, and he's very perceptive in every way. I mean, I don't even know if it would help if he could see. All the other stuff is so strong and way beyond anybody else's.
What he was doing there, though, was he was questioning him about the murder, because then he listened to his heartbeat to see if he was telling the truth, if he did or didn't kill him.
Now, he was thinking he might have done it.
He determined that he did not. And so he went out on the street where the actual killing took place, and the police could not, quote-unquote, find the casing for the bullet, which is like classic, like, just typical police nonsense.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's like one of the first things that they would do.
Well, Matt finds it in 2 seconds. He finds it in 2 seconds.
And what was special about it?
It had the Punisher logo on it because, of course, this is a part of the storyline of police framing killings on the Punisher.
Yeah.
And so he confronts Frank, and... I think that something that's really unattractive for me about the show, and I hate to say unattractive because I did really like the episode, I do really like the show, but it's the fact that, like, I just want to go back to, like, the Netflix shows and, let those people finish their work before we have this show. Because I feel like, this show, Safi, takes place 10 years after the Netflix show ended. And you can feel that, like, there's all this stuff that happened in between that, that time period, like then and now. And I would honestly like to pause this show and watch the show that we should have gotten, which was Daredevil season 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, from the Netflix people. Because that's the show that I want to watch. I want to see Daredevil, Foggy, and Karen. I don't want to see Daredevil and the therapist and the other forgettable characters that nobody cares about. I want to see Daredevil, Foggy, and Karen. And with this Punisher scene, I definitely felt that as well, because the Punisher is like a completely different character. Well, not different, but he's, there's a lot of stuff that's happened you can tell in between then and now with his character. Safi?
Well, I saw his show when it was on, and he does look, he's all scruffy and his hair is all grown out, and
Yeah.
I was like, is that the same actor? I almost really didn't recognize him, and he's very, but he's always been, well, he was a little bit more rough. I don't know how to explain it. He just seemed like Marco said, a lot's happened, and he's been through a lot, and which obviously you didn't see, we didn't see, and here he is, and he knew where he was, and he was able to find him. I guess he knew all along. Matt knew where he was, and then of course
that was a great scene.
It was, and because the guy called out Matt and said, "Why are you here to see?" Because he told him about the bullet, what he found, and the bullet casing, and he said, "I don't think you're here to tell me all about that. I think you're here to get me to, I don't know, like absolve your guilt or something. You feel bad about what happened, and you say his name." He kept saying that. I felt like this was Walter White saying, "Say my name, say my name," but he wanted him to say Foggy's name. Say his name, say his name. You feel bad. You're not doing anything about what happened. What's going on with you? And you feel bad about it. You should be doing this. But he said it real gruffly, and of course Matt starts to cry. And he tries to explain himself, but I think he does realize that that's true. That he should be doing something about it. And what did he do? Did he hit him in the face? Or he
hit him and
hit
he
the
was
Punisher
like,
in the face.
Yeah, and then the Punisher was like,
"Whoa!"
"Ooh!"
And he said, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna."
But he didn't.
Daredevil.
He didn't really care, and so after that,
No.
that awakened his inner Daredevil, which.
Well, and after
was
what
kinda
happened
cool.
with that guy too, which wasn't really fair.
That was kind of cool. So I thought that, and so at the end they showed him he's got like all these different kinds of masks too, which I was really excited from the trailer. That reminded me a lot of the early 2000s movie, the Ben Affleck Daredevil, where he had the different suits, and he was practicing in his apartment with the nunchucks.
Nunchucks,
Yeah, and so he did that. He practiced nunchucks on the rooftop. I thought that was awesome. And of course, they paralleled that with the Kingpin doing something else that we'll talk about. But yeah, I really liked Matt's whole story this episode. Obviously, he is the main character, so we talked about his stuff first. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, because I think yeah. Well, okay. I will say that, like, I think Safi might remember I talked about how the showrunner said that, like, originally the show was a lot of, like, people just standing around talking about being heroes and talking about blah, blah, blah. And you can kind of still feel that, though, because most of this episode was just that. Like, you had the scene with guy, the caramel corn guy, and Matt. You had the scene with Punisher and Matt, and these are just scenes where these people are standing around talking about being heroes and talking and talking and talking and like.
Well, I think it's like a zigzag.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of the whole this season, he was Daredevil. He was fighting that guy.
But
they were on the roof.
That was a reshoot.
Okay, well, whatever. And then they come down. He's a lawyer a year later. Doesn't do any Daredevil stuff. And then these cases start to happen. This guy who was a superhero, he gets him off because he didn't do what they said he did. And then he gets shot, and the guy puts his outfit on, and then he gets shot in the head. And then you go to this other guy. You go back up to the top. And as this other guy, who has to go to jail because he stole a bag of caramel popcorn. Just bizarre.
That kind of reminded me of Hot Fuzz, too. Remember that, Safi? Where the guy stole cookies in the supermarket, and and they were all like, "Oh, that's okay." And then the Timothy Dalton, he was even eating some of the stolen cookies and giving it to the police, offering it to the police, and then of course they kill him. You know, the bad guys in that movie. Remember that?
No, I don't.
God,
I remember
Safi.
seeing the movie though. Those were pretty good movies. But so he's been on this zigzag. Now he's back up to the top of the zigzag, which is when he becomes Daredevil. And so here he is after he sees the Punisher, of course. He's practicing these moves and things on the roof. So he's back up to the zag. So we have the zig. So now we have to see what the zag is going to be.
Well, all I'm saying is, I really hope we get to see Daredevil in the show because right now we're not seeing any.
But we've seen the really good lawyering, and he is a really good lawyer.
Yeah, but it's kind of making me think back about the original show. Like by now on the original show, the first season, we had the hallway fight scene. Episode 2, the iconic masterpiece hallway fight scene. It wasn't even Daredevil's actual red suit that he wore the whole first season until the finale. He wore that black suit, which he also wears in season 3 for the most part. And I just look back and it's that's Daredevil. And I'm looking at this show and I'm I really hope we get to see Daredevil pretty soon.
I think we will.
Because we're already halfway through the show. It's 9 episodes. Next season's going to be 8 episodes. So the show got a downgrade even though before it came out. They were okay, fuck you. 8 episodes, bitch. And so, yeah. But and so now let's go on to, unless you have anything else to say, Safi.
No, but it's funny with,
what?
The Mayor Fisk.
We're not on to that part yet.
I know that, but that's the other half of the episode. It's all about what he's up to.
I said that.
Yeah.
So, why?
Go ahead, Marco. Just move on.
What do you think of my Buzz Lightyear Band-Aid?
They're not very big Band-Aids.
Oh. Well, it'll probably come off in the shower. So, anyways, let's talk about Mayor Fisk and his little bitch boy. His bitch boy helper who... What's that fucking kid's name? Danny or something? Let's just call him the bitch boy. The bitch boy who... The actor... I'm not disparaging the actor. The actor is James Gandolfini's son.
Which is interesting.
Which is cool because he did a good job in the Sopranos movie, even though I thought that was a huge piece of shit movie. It was total false advertising of what the story would be. But he's pretty good, and the show also kind of starts to center in on his character more. He's kind of like Victor from The Penguin if Victor sucked, and if Victor was just a giant brown-nosing bitch. That's basically what the bitch boy is on this show to Kingpin. He is just a giant bitch boy. and it opens up with, doesn't it open up with him at the club with the girls? Like, he's like, and I thought that this was kind of off for his character too. Like, you know, just the type of character that he is. He's hanging out with like these two chicks at the club, like he's like friends with them, and they like go out partying together all the time, and it's like,
what? So?
Really?
Why not?
I don't know. It just didn't feel like it felt really like sudden that like now they introduced this aspect of his character, like after all we've seen of him is just the suited guy in the offices.
He's very naive. He doesn't have a lot of experience, and you can tell that.
It kind of reminds me of Elon's team.
Minions, yeah.
And so,
yep,
because it kind of feels like something that they would do, but they're not. But they're not legitimate like people, so they're not a legitimate organization.
Then they
but
don't
like
have legitimate jobs either.
But Kingpin's bitch boy, he is a legitimate employee, so it's just kind of weird, and just I don't know. It was just very sudden, but like no, he's like, I gotta get to work. I can't just party with you guys all night, you know. And Safi, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I mean, really,
the bitch boy.
He's been drinking and he took ketamine, so he thinks he's going to work now.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
That's what you call.
And I'll just say this too about Mayor Fisk, because we're going to be getting onto that. I don't think he likes being a politician. I think he thinks, because when he was the kingpin,
no, he doesn't.
He was a bully and got to do whatever he want whenever he want. And if he wasn't getting what he wanted, he just pushed people down or murdered them, I guess, or just got rid of them somehow. And got what he wanted done.
But now as a politician,
he's got to go through checks and balances.
He feels like he can't do whatever he wants, and he's just like, fuck. And he also has to like put up with a lot of shit too. Like, well, we'll get to that, but like I thought that was one of the best things of the episode when he's
I thought it was interesting
going to these different places and
it's so funny. They're singing this song about the city. And
Safi, you don't know that song?
Yeah, I do. But anyway, the first group that sings, it's just like a middle school group. And, you know, there's a lot of, they're just normal. I mean, they're just regular kids. They're not professional singers. And they're singing the best they can. You can hear flat notes and everything. And then he moves on to another public function, and he's about ready to go crazy.
Yeah, he goes right into
his mouth,
right into another place, and they're singing the exact same song, and
they're singing it really good, but in a foreign language.
It's like torture, and it's hilarious. It's so good. That was like a highlight, and see, that's what I enjoy about this show is that you get to see all this stuff that you probably wouldn't have gotten to see on the other show.
Or you wouldn't have gotten to see if they had fewer episodes either.
Well, the older show had a lot more episodes. Safi, they had like.
I'm talking about in these.
Oh, okay.
This rendition.
Yeah, well, that doesn't make sense. So, anyways, let's go back in time now because you did jump ahead and you did kind of.
I can't get it out of my mind how he was gritting his teeth. And he was about ready to stomp and have a temper tantrum.
It's kind of like whenever I have to hear Safi talk some bullshit about Daredevil, even though she gave up on the old show. It was like the good show, the great show, the fantastic Daredevil show.
Well, it's too bad that the people who made it gave up on it too.
They didn't give it; they got forced out.
Well, that's what I mean. Somebody gave up on it. And they had to stop it.
All the Netflix shows, but to be fair with the old Netflix shows, a big problem was that the guy who was in charge of everything, he did not really have a very good plan for how the shows would come together. And, you know, the Defender show sucked. I've already said that before. And the whole, like, culmination, the climax was stupid as hell. And after that happened, they didn't really have a plan for after that. And so it just kind of felt like throwing shit at the wall, which is sad because the Netflix shows were so much better than the MCU. Like, I would take the Netflix Marvel shows over anything that the MCU has ever made, ever. And I know that that's like a really terrible thing to say, but I don't care. Like, I'm being serious. Like, the Netflix shows, you got Luke Cage, which was enjoyable in like a good bad way. It could have been really good. Jessica Jones was terrible, but it still had some great elements. And Iron Fist, I actually really liked the first season of Iron Fist. The Punisher season 1 was really good, and so I don't know, but let's go back to Kingpin. Let's talk about the therapy scene with him and his wife.
Remember, he and his wife are going through therapy with the woman therapist who Matt is going out with. Of course, nobody, because it's a confidential thing. Matt doesn't know about this, and that's that. So.
What? That's all you're gonna say?
Well, though, anyway,
wow.
So they are meeting.
Hashtag reviewer. Hashtag
meeting with the therapist.
Safi needs training.
Apparently, she had an affair.
Yeah.
And he, and I was thinking that he killed him or something.
Well, they had this. I would say this was probably my favorite scene of the episode overall.
Right.
Because there's so much that they're saying without really saying it out loud. Because Kingpin, she asks Kingpin, did you ever confront this man? And he's like, oh yeah, I did.
Well, bet your booties, Granny.
We had a dialogue. And then she's like, do you know where that guy is now? And both him and his wife say no at the same time. And so it's like the wife doesn't know because she really doesn't know. And then Kingpin, maybe he ordered him to be killed and, chopped up and his pieces thrown everywhere so he wouldn't know either. I thought that was really good. And that was so well written.
Well, as a result, too, though.
That could have been
their response to that question.
That could have been in a Hitchcock movie, that whole dialogue.
She pulls the wife aside at the end, and he goes out of the room, and she said, do you feel safe with him?
Yeah.
And he knew that she asked him that she asked her that.
And Vanessa kind of laughed at her because obviously the therapist doesn't have any idea about the Kingpin and her and all their history.
Make any sense, though. I just don't believe it.
Well, I mean, I know that they're trying to emulate The Sopranos, and I've never seen The Sopranos. I did see the terrible movie.
Well, I have. What is it we want to know?
Well, I in that show, they have the therapist character, and doesn't she know all about his business and how he's a bad guy? And they talk about it because it feels like at some point that would come out, and especially with the Kingpin, he'd be like, I am sick and tired of having to have people killed all the time. It's a lot of extra, he there would be something. And so I think about, in The Sopranos, and I think about, why hasn't that come up yet? Is that going to come out soon, and then the therapist is going to have to share the secret, maybe in The Sopranos? I wouldn't know. But, yeah.
I don't know if it ever really... Right, I mean, if they talk like that out loud, I know about everything you do and blah, blah, I don't think that ever... I could be wrong, I'm sorry, but...
No, I'm asking about this show.
Oh, this show?
I'm saying,
I'm surprised she doesn't know.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. Everybody else knows about him.
Literally everyone. They call him Kingpin.
But what they do during the show... They'll talk to people on the street. It's there's a reporter or somebody talking to and they'll say, he's not going to do anything. Look at what he did before. And they said, look at the mess over here. Look at this garbage everywhere. That's never going to get cleaned up. He made these promises. He's not going to keep those.
Yeah, I really like the on-street interviews, too. I think that's really, really unique about the show.
Well,
it really grounds the
know
show.
what he used to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on, really?
But it really grounds the show because, let's just talk about that terrible Captain America movie that just came out because it wasn't even Captain America. It was something else. But they tried to do the same thing. They would have these stupid news broadcasts that would basically, they were just there to explain to the audience the plot of the movie. And here, this feels like it's genuine, and it feels like they're just interviewing residents of Hell's Kitchen in this area who are just like normal people. And it doesn't have anything to do with like, okay, this is a news broadcast, and we are telling you that something just happened. And you have to know this to understand the movie. Like with Captain America 4, which wasn't really Captain America.
See, you don't have to do that. Obviously, as evidenced by this show, you don't have to do that. You can do what they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't show it all the time. It's just sprinkled, a little bit of sprinkling of it in amongst the show. They'll talk to somebody on the street. Well, you know what he was like before. Why do you expect anything different? And look at that garbage all over. Nothing's happening. Nothing's getting cleaned up, And then like I said at the beginning, where they're going through this part of the city, and it's a mess. The buildings have been destroyed, and there's just dirt and garbage and. He said, I want to do something about this. I made promises. I said I would do this, and I want to get them right now. And they're like, oh, well, it doesn't work that way, and you have to go through all these. And that's where it was so funny. He has to do things through steps and protocol. And
he wanted to start this new recycling project, and like they're like, no. You have to wait to do that, and you have to do all this other stuff first like a normal person.
It's a little bit of a mirror of what's going on now.
That's how the government works. It doesn't just work like, you just do whatever you want. And so it's not like Monopoly, the board game or something, and he's basically like, shit. Like, he's basically like, okay, whatever.
He's impatient, and he's getting mad.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't know. I just don't see how it's going to work.
And then what were they?
Because he's used to pushing people around and
killing
walking over them,
killing them.
Yeah, and getting what he wants. So I don't know how it's going to work.
And then what did they start calling him in the newspaper?
I don't know.
The garbage man or the garbage mayor?
I didn't see the picture very well.
Yeah, there was some sort of a leak in the newspaper about this project and making fun of him or something. That was the one thing that I had a question about because I was kind of doing something else, and so for that specific second, and so I didn't notice it, and then I was like, "Oh no!"
Very long, and I couldn't see it that well.
But Kingpin has like this temper tantrum to the press, and he says he will find out who did it. And that's when the bitch boy admits that he did it. And he says, sorry, I was partying and I had some ketamine and I was drunk and everything.
And I'm like, what is the deal now with ketamine?
And then,
seriously?
I just thought it was hilarious
That's
because
an animal drug.
This bitch boy, he is such a bitch boy. He is such a little bitch. That he gave a master class in reverse psychology because he was like, I know you're going to fire me and I'll never forgive myself and I'll always be sorry, but I'll also always be in your corner because I'm your little bitch. And the Kingpin was just standing there like, I want to kill you right now, but I can't kill you. But now you're appeasing me and I don't know what to do. And so then he kept him, but he warned him. He's like, if you ever do anything again, I'm gonna...
And he will. He will, because pretty soon he's going to go to the breaking point.
Yeah.
And he's going to do something bad. Because he can't stand it. This isn't him. And I don't even know why I wanted the job, frankly. I think it had to do with his wife.
I don't know.
And her controlling all those mafia people, or and they've had a murder, and they talked about this, and they said, and it was something to do. I think that these are the people he had been controlling, and then she controlled them, and they're out of control again.
Yeah.
And people are getting killed. There's murders happening, and they bring that up to him, and so there's that. So it's kind of like this undercurrent of violence, and it's kind of like a volcano rumbling underneath, getting ready to explode, and that's what I'm looking at. And then you have Daredevil, and the twain are going to meet or whatever somewhere soon down the line, because remember at the beginning Kingpin said you better not do what you used to do, and Daredevil was kind of like, I've got my eye on you, and because they're both going to meet up somewhere along the line. It's not going to be pleasant, and I don't know how his wife is going to configure into this.
Well, I don't know,
either.
because to me, I kind of think maybe his downfall is eventually he's going to hurt his wife.
Yeah.
And so then that's going to kind of...
Because it's almost like that was a hint.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing or something.
Yeah.
Where the therapist, like I said, asked her if she felt safe from him. And then he said, did she ask you if you would feel safe from me? And
I kind of hope that he doesn't, though, just because, I don't
think that would be nice, but...
That is his, I mean, I think at that point he'd probably get killed. The character would have to get killed or something, because his wife... It's just like the Joker and Harley Quinn, Harley Quinn and the Joker, they did that stupid Birds of Prey movie, and right at the beginning, she kills the Joker. And it's like, no, you can't have a Harley Quinn movie without the Joker.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. And so, I think it's the same thing here of, the Kingpin needs Vanessa. And so, hopefully he does not hurt her or kill her or whatever. But also, we forgot about the White Tiger's niece.
Oh, well.
Seeing his body at the beginning of the episode. But that was just kind of that was a hint, though. Safi wouldn't get it. In the comics, there's a female White Tiger or something, and so that was a hint that she will become. Yeah.
Oh, well, but it was also, if you think about that, it was another little step going up to the zig of the zigzag for Daredevil, because he feels so bad for this girl. And she's saying, why did they have to kill him? And, and he's, the wheels are turning in his mind. I mean, he's a good lawyer, and it's good that he's doing these things in court, but he's also Daredevil. And he can't it's just like the Kingpin being a politician. It ain't going to work.
Yeah.
The Daredevil just being a lawyer, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
And so it's another little incremental step up to the zig where he's going to be Daredevil again. I forgot about that too, and it was really but I said that's interesting what you said about that she might be White Tiger in the future, because they probably still have the outfit, right?
Honestly, I gotta say, this Daredevil show, I have heard and seen so much stuff about it without even watching it, on Twitter. They'll talk about, they're even talking about right now the plot of season 2 of what's going to happen with Daredevil. Not the whole plot, but this. I'm not even going to say it because I don't
want that when this isn't over.
I don't know. And so, they're talking about that, and they're kind of showing pictures of the set. And, well, there was this long rumor that was out there that Jenna Ortega was going to play the White Tiger character. And I thought, oh,
come on,
God,
she doesn't have to do everything.
Yeah,
does she?
She doesn't have to be. I think she's okay sometimes, but she doesn't have to be in everything. She doesn't have to be the White Tiger. And I'm sick and tired of that too, with these superhero movies and shows, where it's oh look, this celebrity is in this movie and playing this superhero. It's if it makes sense for the character, that's what I want. And so I was glad that they didn't do that. That they got this random. I don't know who she is, but
She did fine.
yeah. And
She
so
did
I
really
was
well.
glad. I was so glad it wasn't Jenna Ortega. So glad. Even though she's a good actress.
Well, she's probably too busy anyway. She's been doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, most of it's bad, too.
That's not so good.
How would you know, Safi? You haven't seen it.
No, she was in some thing on a couple of things on TV.
I've seen it. I've seen it. You haven't seen
There,
it. I have.
well, somebody else in the
No,
house was watching
I've
it,
seen it. You haven't.
and I wasn't really impressed with what it was either.
It was pretty bad.
I didn't. I
And
I just hear it, and I'll look over once in a while and see what it is, and it didn't look good.
She plays the same character in everything she's in, unfortunately. Well, for the most part. But, yeah. But anyways, turned into a Jenna Ortega video. But anyways, at the end of it, we see the Kingpin having dinner, and
Huge meal.
the guy, the mistress, the man mistress of Vanessa, he is entrapped in there, and being tortured and being kept there. And so that was the parallel.
I didn't know that.
And that whole thing, Kingpin, throughout the whole episode, he kept on saying like something about forgiveness, like is the highest form of love or something like that. And so it's just ironic. He's just totally full of shit. And, he doesn't forgive that guy at all. He's still keeping him there as a prisoner.
See, now that's something I saw. I saw I saw the guy, but I didn't know who it was. So, see, that's interesting because we're going through a parallel universe right now, and that guy doesn't forgive anything either.
Safi, why?
And it's just this. He's just like this.
Safi, why don't you eat some Cheetos and shut up?
No, he's all in for retribution.
Safi, why don't
That's
you?
Kingpin.
Why don't you?
That's exactly like he is.
Safi, why don't you eat some Cheetos and shut up?
So the wife doesn't know that she doesn't know where he is, but he's been prisoner of Kingpin this whole time.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
How did Safi not figure that out? He literally
I would not.
spells it out. He says, "We were talking about how forgiveness is the highest form of love. Would you agree with that, Adam?" And he says his name.
I didn't.
He says his name.
Well, what happened was with the feed of my. Today we've been having trouble with this.
No,
It
Safi
stops.
just
Start, stop.
Safi,
And
you have
I
you
hate
have
that.
you have dementia now.
No, I don't.
Safi,
You get off of it.
how many fingers am I holding up?
I'm ready to break that one so you won't have any holding up.
Ah!
Okay, let's wrap it up.
Okay,
So-
I would give the episode a B plus. I mean, it was a solid string of scenes.
I'll just give it an
Okay.
A. I thought it was really good. There wasn't anything I really objected to.
Okay, I'll give it an A.
But I don't get this thing with the ketamine. That's what they say that Elon Musk is taking all the time. But he's wealthy. He has unlimited money to buy any drug he wants to. But ketamine? You know what that is? That's for an animal tranquilizer drug. I didn't know. I'm going to have to ask somebody who's studied drugs for years. Is that the new drug of choice? Every year it's there's been methamphetamine. That was the drug of choice. And people rotting their teeth out, and they're nuts and paranoid and go crazy. And they look awful. And I mean, you see what the before and after they've been on meth, and then making it too is really dangerous. People blowing themselves up. And then you have the cocaine. You have the cocaine thing.
Guys,
people are still doing that. So
she's talking about the cocaine
what is this with the
again.
ketamine thing. I mean, I'm gonna have to find out. In fact, I'll just Google it because I don't see how you would know anything.
Why don't you ask Kingpin? What would Kingpin have to say? I mean,
he doesn't do
that
drugs, okay? This is just.
Well, I thought what's funny is that,
Parallel
like,
worlds.
Kingpin is like, in time, you're gonna grow into a good man. Or what did he say? He said something about, like,
really got him down.
time is going to turn you into a good man. And he was like, okay, I'm your bitch boy, and I'll do whatever you want. Like, that's his character, so.
It looks like, it's really weird, his eyes and everything. It looks like he's wearing eye makeup. Like J.D. Shady Vance.
Safi, don't do that.
No, but I mean, it looks like
Don't
he's
do
wearing
that.
eyebrow pencil.
Safi, don't do that.
Eyeliner. No,
Safi,
the guy does.
this isn't your CNN time now. This is a review time.
Oh, I'm talking
So,
about
well,
the guy,
you
the
can't. No, but
son.
don't do that.
Gandolfini didn't
No,
look like that.
don't do that.
Okay. So anyway, that's it. So
Don't
I
go
thought
there.
it was really good too.
Don't go there.
And I like this thing with the with both. You have Kingpin, who really doesn't want to be a politician. I don't even know why he did this. I guess for his wife and this control or whatever the group of people she was controlling.
Well, apparently he'll still be mayor in season 2, so.
Oh, really?
He's really.
And then you have
He's
Matt,
just-
who was Daredevil. Then he's a lawyer.
No, I think
and then he's going to be Daredevil again.
I think what would be hilarious, and I know that this is probably not going to happen, it would be hilarious if Wilson Fisk was revealed to be the Kingpin, and the whole public knows all about how he kills people and shit, and we get to see on camera he like does something bad or something, and then even after that, it's like they just don't do anything about it, and they're like, oh well, we have to. Well, all that we can do is vote him out next time. It's like, even though the whole city knows that he's the Kingpin, it's like, we can't do anything about that except for, wait until the next election. Daredevil has
That's
to
a
do.
really good point.
Daredevil has to do
They
something.
knew he was a
about it.
killer and he was a bad person. But they elected him anyway. Sound familiar?
No, they'll wait until next election.
But
Like
they
that.
knew he
that
was that.
no,
they,
but
they all know that he was Kingpin.
that could be the end of season 1, though. Like, the whole public, like, they show the interviews and they're like, oh, yeah, I saw Kingpin strangle Vanessa to death too on television. We can't do anything about it. We just gotta wait until the election. That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, he promised to fix the economy.
That's how. No, Safi, don't go there.
No, he promised to fix New York,
Kingpin?
right?
Kingpin promised to do that.
Didn't he promise that he
Kingpin-
said that I made
Kingpin
promises
promised-
to the people
Kingpin
to
promised
make
to
the city better and more livable?
Okay, Safi, go drink an Insurer.
Well, no, what the F are you talking about?
We all know you love
no,
Insurer.
he said that. He said that.
You like
That
you
was part of
like Ensure Strawberry Plus. That's what you
are
like,
you
Safi.
talking about?
Yeah, you're.
No, okay, it's time to finish up. Marco's making up stories now.
Oh, it's 11 o'clock at night, Safi.
They if you want to become one of our subscribers, we welcome you to do that.
It's
And
past my bedtime,
Quiet.
and it's quiet time
Oh,
now.
why are you yelling? And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.